husband John and I decided to come to Prince of Peace. We happened to be members of Zion Lutheran Church here in Appleton. My husband was on the council there. And one time he went to the council meeting and he was very discouraged with what was happening there. And he had learned that there was a new church in Appleton on the south side of the city. And he told me the next Sunday we were going to try that new church. We got ready for church and we drove and drove and drove. And I said, I thought we were going to church. And he said, yeah, we are, but it's way on the south side of Appleton. And we live way on the north side. So we finally got here. It was a little itty-bitty thing with not much more than 2 or 3 rooms. We went in that. We had to sit on folding chairs. What? No church pews or anything? Well, we did. We sat on folding chairs. But it was a very nice service and a great pastor. And so we came back the next Sunday. And that's how we got started at Prince of Peace. Well, we got a little bit involved here with Prince of Peace. And of course, since I had been a Sunday school teacher at Zion, I was asked to teach Sunday school too. So I taught the little kids. And then we got to having Christmas programs, and that was lots of fun. Then another thing that was lots of fun, now we have Lenten suppers. Well, at that time, when Lent came around, we had a Lenten breakfast, and it would be at 7 in the morning. And because the church, all the places we had to set up were so small, we set up tables at the back of the church, and maybe about 15 people would come for a 7 o'clock breakfast. And in addition to it so happened that Laverna and Everett Lee and John and I lived on the north side of Appleton, and there was a baker shop that made donuts early in the morning, and you got these hot donuts. So we'd pick them up in the morning, bring them to the church, quickly get the coffee made, and at 7 o'clock we'd be ready for the people that came and had breakfast. And in addition to that, we had a speaker, not necessarily a program that was related to church things, subjects. Sometimes it would be city interests, sometimes national, sometimes political. We even had speakers that were Catholic or something like that. But it was very interesting. The church had a long room to the north, which was used for Sunday school purposes. And in order to divide the little sections where the Sunday school classes were held, we had curtains that hung from the rings in the ceiling. And that's how you divided the classroom sections. And of course, it was a very noisy room.
I have been a member of Prince of Peace since maybe the first or second year after the congregation started. So we did start with a couple rooms. All-purpose room that is now torn down was our room for everything, whether it was Sunday school or services, whatever. I can remember one of the first services I came to here when I first walked in and sat on the folding chairs, and the person that gave the sermon was Al Peckham, who's been a member longer than I have. So I can still recall his sermon about those chairs because he worked in a business that was selling the chairs that were being used. So he stood out to me at that time. But it was fun being part of the growth of Prince of Peace.
What Karen and I really love about Prince of Peace is that it's a very friendly, family-type environment, and it always has been. When we were college seniors, we were meeting in the spring with a pastor friend of ours down at Luther, and he asked us what we were going to do and where we were going to go. And we said, well, we both have teaching jobs in the Appleton area, I in Kimberly and Karen in Appleton. And he said, he says, there's a new church there that you need to go to. It's Prince of Peace in Appleton. And we said, well, you know, why do we need to go there? He said, it's a mission church, it's a congregation. And he says, they need you. And we went, oh, okay. So 2 weeks after we were here, the second Sunday, we came to Prince of Peace. And Pastor Brethheim at that time greeted everybody at the front door. And we walked in and he said, you know, I'm Pastor Brethheim and you are, and we said our names. He says, yes. He says, we've been waiting for you. And what had happened is that Pastor Solberg had called Pastor Brethheim and had said, watch for this young couple. They're really going to be helpful in your congregation building, and they'll be a great addition to Prince of Peace. And so for 47 years we've been here, and we've loved it. And it truly has been a big, big part of our lives.
Hi, I'm Norma Zarnick, and I guess we're just here to talk about how important Prince of Peace has been to us. I just want to share with you how we got here. Actually, when we first came to Appleton, we joined Trinity Church, and then Trinity wanted to go ahead and expand, so they had another little church that we became charter members of, which is our Redeemer in Menasha. So for many years we were charter members of that church, but then what happened was we moved way out to Darboy, and guess what church we passed? It was Prince of Peace. And it took a while for us to say, you know, I think it's important for us to go to that church because we had 10 children. So we wanted to know they were all going to be confirmed, and we didn't want them to be able to, wanted them to be able to bike to confirmation and be able to get there for all the things that the church gives us. And our church has given us some wonderful things. Our church has become very personable. We have met many, many friends through the years that we've been here. When our Redeemer went ahead and when we had an add-on to our narthex and to our church itself, the floors were all dug up. And what happened is our family we used to always, myself, my husband, and my children, we would sit in the last row right there. So we'd all have that. And if the kids were good that day, they could go up one more row by themselves if they wanted to, if they were good, and they could just keep going up one row all by themselves. And some of my kids never made it to the front row. So, but one thing did happen was the floor was all pulled up, and what I did before they put the floor down was when they do pull that up someday, I put my name, my husband's name, and all 10 of our children, I painted it on the bottom of the floor. And so truthfully, we have a piece of Prince of Peace, and Prince of Peace is in my heart, and it's in all of my children's, which is such a blessing to me.
And I am the second of those 10 children, and I made it to the front row really fast. My name is Cindy, and I guess one of the things when I think of Prince of Peace, and I'm so grateful for, is that I felt as a child, and I certainly feel today, like I belonged. I knew that this was a place that was home for me, and I learned that I was good. I always felt like I was good and I was worthwhile at Prince of Peace.
And my name is Becky Herring, and I'm the last of Norma's 10 children. And Prince of Peace for me has always been a second family and a sense of community. It's where I've grown up. It's the people I know. It's coming to church and know that we all come together because we're perfectly imperfect. And we celebrate that together in hopes that this sense of community brings us more joy and better times together.
My name is Karina. I'm one of Norma's granddaughters. And one thing that I really, really love about Prince of Peace is just the shared love of Christ that we all have here. And we all come here to worship the Lord and to be together, and really just the sense of family and community that we have, and we're all just here to praise the Lord.
My name is John Herring. I am Becky's son and Norma's grandson. And for me, really the big thing about Prince of Peace is growing up as a teen, it can be difficult sometimes, and we all know the stresses it can have on you. And coming to a church that's so welcoming, and everybody here, all the people at the church that you meet through confirmation, through extra events, through vacation Bible school, through Sunday school, all of these things allow you to feel more connected in a place where high school you may not feel connected. So really just feeling connected is a big part of this church and a great thing to have for us.
This place for us, this is the place for us to worship, and this is where we see Christ, and we see Christ in each other.
My wife Sharon and I were born in small towns on the border of Minnesota and Iowa. Very small towns. But even though the towns were small, we felt we had a nice, large, extended family of grandmas and uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces. We knew each other well. We would see each other in church. We'd see each other in school. We played in the band together. We were on football teams together. We knew them very, very well. Our uncles and aunts and grandmas would give us gifts. They would give us advice, whether we wanted it or not. We were a very tight family. All that changed in 1968. Sharon and I and our two little boys decided it's time for growth and adventure. We moved off to what we thought was the great big metropolis of Appleton, Wisconsin. And we were a little nervous, we were excited, we were curious. And sometimes when things were sort of quiet, we might feel just a little bit homesick. We missed our family more than we thought we would. But we were busy. We had priorities. Our first one was to find a church. Now this was exciting for us because we had lived in these little towns. There was one church and we went to it. We had no choice. Now we had all kinds of choices. So we decided we would visit every Lutheran church in our synod in Appleton. And so every Sunday we'd go to a different church, and it was very interesting, very enjoyable. Every church had something interesting or something valuable or something appealing. Some had good music, there was good preaching, beautiful buildings in some cases, and very nice people. We just had one church left to visit, and that was Prince of Peace. We did that one last because it was the farthest from our home and we didn't think we'd want to drive that far to church on Sunday. Well, that was a game changer. We set off on this beautiful fall day. Sun was shining and as beautiful as Wisconsin can be in September. And we drove down Calumet Street looking for Prince of Peace. And we drove what seemed like a really long way through this quiet residential neighborhood. And then we got to Tallulah, and it turned into gravel. And we started to have questions. Is this where we're going to be? And we kept driving thinking we were in the country. Then we went past East High School, which is a brand new school. The mayor of the town called it the silo. I don't think that was a compliment. And finally we found this little nondescript building out in the country, it seemed. We weren't overly impressed. And when we turned onto the gravel parking lot, we were even less impressed. We didn't think this is where we were going to end up at all. But that changed almost in an instant. We parked the car, and as we started walking toward the front door, there stood Pastor Brethheim in his vestments outside, greeting people personally, shaking everybody's hand. When we arrived and came to the door, he took our hand, and it was as though he'd been waiting for us and wondering what had taken us so long to get there. We were directed into the church and then into the sanctuary where we were seated on our metal folding chair. We didn't even have time to get the chair warmed up, and this usher came directly to us. He made a beeline toward us. He reached out his hand. He said, "Hi, I'm Dick Lee. Welcome to Prince of Peace." We knew this is where we belonged. This is where we might find that family we were missing in Iowa and Minnesota. And we were right. We were embraced. We were taken in. We were involved in the church from almost the first week. By the time we were installed as members, I was in the choir and teaching Sunday school. Our kids were in Sunday school, and Sharon had been in circle several times. We knew we were in the right place, and as we became more involved in the activities, we became more involved in family. We developed more uncles and aunts and grandmas and grandpas and nephews and cousins, and we certainly had plenty of those. Now, as the years have gone by, the faces have changed. People have come, people have replaced them, but we have never been without family, and I don't think I ever will.